Thank you. And thanks to the curators of the exhibition for including our work here. And thanks for inviting me today. I'd like to tell you a little bit about our project Tableau, which is a visitor center for a nuclear waste disposal facility in Dessel in Belgium. It was a project that was 8 years in the making, and now today I will try to tell you about it in 8 minutes. It was a project in collaboration between two offices, Bovenbouw Architectuur and ONO Architectuur, both offices located in Antwerp in Belgium. And for the landscape design we collaborated with Studio Paula Vigano. The client for this project is NIRAS, which is the public organization in Belgium who is tasked by the government of Belgium to manage, process and store all the nuclear waste in Belgium. And they have this cluster, oh sorry, do I have a pointer here? Can I go back? So on the bottom right you see a cluster of industrial buildings. That's where they are currently doing this work. And on the bottom left you see 2 rows of squares. This is where they are planning this new storage facility, where in the near future they will start to have a permanent solution to store low and medium radioactive waste. This is waste that comes from medical applications, radiotherapy for cancer patients, as well as lower radioactive waste coming from nuclear power plants, etc. And this kind of storage facility is also a necessary thing to have in order to be able to, in the near future, to be able to dismantle these power plants, which is something, well, it's a long political discussion I won't go into today, but at some point these power plants will need to be dismantled in Belgium. So our brief was to design a visitor center, which you see on the top right, the square over there, and the surrounding landscape park. The goal of this visitor center is to inform the local communities about what is going on here, and also to educate the general public about radioactivity, nuclear waste, how NIRAS deals with this, and to serve as a platform for a debate about this very, I think, big problem in society, or a question for society. And besides this, maybe a bit peculiar, this building also needed to be a community center for the surrounding villages. When we started to do the competition in 2013, we realized that there were kind of 2 main questions that we needed to address. First of all, the storage facility that's going to be built, it will need to store this waste for 300 years. And we wanted to make a building that could also be relevant in some way or another for 300 years, which is an extraordinary timescale. At least for us as architects, we're not really used to dealing or thinking about such a long time when we design a building. And of course, this meant that we needed to find a kind of structure that could be adapted to changing needs in the future. Secondly, the second question that we needed to address, we thought, was that, and this has to do with the way that NIRAS engages the local communities in everything they do. So for them, the trust of the local communities is very important for their work. And the way they do this is by means of participation. So representatives of the surrounding villages are engaged in everything that NIRAS is doing. They are not only informed, but they are also actively engaged in decision making. and in this way, NIRAS builds and maintains trust. So, and the design of this visitor center was no exception to this principle. So, and we thought, like, what does this mean for the design of our building? What kind of building type lends itself to a participatory process? And we thought that on the top right here, you see like 6 examples of maybe you could say like quite finished absolute forms that are kind of, it's quite hard to imagine having the Eiffel Tower and then adding an auditorium to it, for example. Like it's finished, you cannot really play with it. And while this, you see some examples on the bottom, like composite buildings that are a composite of multiple smaller elements, maybe kind of more readily suit themselves to change around, to play with it during the design phase, as well as later after construction in the future, maybe to add to or change or remove from according to changing needs over the 3 centuries that this building should remain relevant. So our proposal consisted of 2 parts. On the right, you see a table-like structure, a permanent structure. It's a square floor plan of 45 meters wide. It's a 50-meter high structure. And on the left, you see a kind of conglomerate of smaller volumes of a more temporary nature that are kind of easily moved around during design without affecting the overall concept of the building, and also are able to change or adapt or add to in the future. And these 2 parts of the building together form the proposal for the visitor center. You see some voids with the hashed squares, let's say, that introduce daylight into the heart of the building, which is kind of the only exception to this very symmetric geometric floor plan. And hopefully this will play now an animation. No, it doesn't. Okay, I will just click through. So this idea proved very useful during the design phase. So this is a sequence of all the configurations that we developed in an ongoing dialogue with us, the designers, the client NIRAS, and representatives of the local communities. And kind of also this gave us some confidence that in fact this idea would really work in the future as well, that this actually is a flexible setup, since we can so easily change it around during the design phase already. So, and this is the layout as it was constructed. The floor plans really clearly show the contrast between this very symmetric, geometric floor plan of the table and its 9 legs, and the more heterogeneous, let's say, fickle agglomeration of smaller volumes underneath, and some within the table as well. Yeah. So the table is constructed in concrete, a material that is suitable for this very long time span of 300 years. And also its form and its material was for us also a way to be able to relate this building to its context of these large industrial facilities where NIRAS is dealing with the actual radioactive waste. And underneath the infill is constructed in timber frame construction mainly, and some CLT, and is also finished with wooden cladding. stained in some color or painted. And this for us was if you make something permanent, we felt it was more acceptable to use concrete, which is a material that causes a huge amount of carbon emissions. But when you build something that can, maybe I should say also, when I say temporary, I don't mean it can be changed next year, but maybe in 20 years time or 30 years time, there are different needs. Is this my time? Am I already over time? I'm so sorry. Okay, I will very quickly go through. So there is a ground floor with a central square around which all the public functions are situated. You enter here, it's kind of the hub of the building. On the first floor there are offices and meeting rooms. This is one such meeting room. You see here the floor of the concrete tabletop is here the ceiling. It is used for passive cooling by means of concrete core activation, and this means that all the other building surfaces are visible. Room acoustics are dealt with on the walls, therefore. Okay, so this is the tabletop itself. Here are the exposition rooms, and this is the kind of the area which is most directly related to the actual storage facility. Maybe I will skip through this. The last thing I'd like to say is that so we kind of imagined this building, like I said, that it can change over time, and maybe after 300 years, it doesn't has a function anymore, and the volumes underneath could be removed, and the table could kind of remain as a kind of monument in the landscape, a monument to the decision that the society in Belgium made today to store this problematic material in a responsible and secure manner. Thank you.